This is Danny Stygion, and I'm the director of the Goetia Diaries, and this is my commentary. The main goal for this film was to do whatever I could to try and make my first full-length movie. And they always say that the horror genre is one of the easiest genres to try and work in. And I was also a big fan of found footage films. I like movies that kind of show you a glimpse of the end of the film and that circle back to the beginning. So this is kind of what we were going for here. None of the actors that appeared in this film were professionals. They were mainly our friends and people who wanted to help us with this project. This is Kira, who is a friend of Brittany's, and she was the one that married me and Brittany at our wedding during the year of COVID and the pandemic.
When gathering information for the investigation, I found one of his external hard drives. And before handing it over to the police, I decided...
We had to work with the resources that we had, and this film was mainly shot at our old apartment that me and Brittany stayed at, and also a house that we had bought. And this scene was shot in my office. It doesn't look like this anymore.
A lot of the people that were with Richard for this project of his have been found either missing or dead. I know with all of that, I know that...
With this scene, we wanted to show that she was presenting footage of her missing fiance, Richard Deacon.
Have issues with anything that involves demonic summonings or...
And the name Richard Deacon was inspired by the cinematographer Roger Deakins, whom I'm a big fan of, and also Rick Deckard from Blade Runner, the character that Harrison Ford plays. This is Jay Short, my friend, who's also a big fan of horror films and found footage movies. And he was very supportive in getting this film made. Also, we worked together on a project called Solitaire, which is my first legitimate short film that I filmed in, I think, 2016, 2017.
But with your support and your help and your viewership, I am so excited to announce today.
I was really researching the occult and people like Aleister Crowley and things like black magic and the Goetia when I was writing this script. And when I was researching that stuff and actually trying to practice some of the rituals that were in these books, it gave me ideas for this film. And I thought it'd be interesting to show a YouTuber and his journey in exploring this stuff.
He was even quoted as saying that magic is the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with the will. And that's will with a capital W. A bit dense, but he does explore it in his book, The Book of the Law. And
one of these books, Brittany got me as a gift, and so I wrote that into a script as a book that Melanie gave to Richard, which was the Book of Lies by Aleister Crowley.
Rituals and cryptograms in it. I'd highly suggest you get it. Lastly, we have the Goetia.
When we released this movie, someone on a found footage group was kind of criticizing and attacking us for mispronouncing the Goetia, but it is pronounced the Goetia. People such as Stephen Skinner, who's highly respected, who's written books on the Goetia, pronounces it the Goetia. So I don't know what that guy is talking about.
Is to interview and work with different practitioners of the Goetia to better understand this, but to also begin to do my own summoning rituals, just to see what happens. And I'm going to compile this data, these videos, and these interviews into something I'm excited to call the Goetia Diaries.
I'm a fan of a person named Kyle Cooper, who did the opening credits to the movie Seven and other movies like Arlington Road and I think The Island of Dr. Moreau. And he's kind of similar to Saul Bass, who used to do opening credits for Alfred Hitchcock movies and a bunch of other movies. So I really like movies that have credits that are really artistic and creative and try to really push things more than your average film. So I was trying to do something like that with this, but like with our micro budget, of course. And Doug did a really good job with the music for that sequence. With this scene, we're trying to present and explain why some of the angles look different. For the cameras, we have our main camera, which was shot with the Lumix S5, and then our B camera, which was shot with the DJI action camera, which is sort of like a GoPro. But they were both in 4K. We ran a successful Kickstarter campaign, and that gave us enough funds to get both those cameras, but it didn't really give us enough funds to get two really good cameras like the Lumix S5. But I think with the film being about a YouTuber, it's okay that the equipment isn't top notch. That's not really expected out of up and coming YouTubers anyway.
I think this will provide you with a more personalized look at the things that I'm getting into.
This scene was almost cut, but I think it's important.
Is my B camera to capture my alternate angles, and it's called a DSLR camera. My last camera, the one being used to film this very segment,
we had a lot of fun trying to find some of these occult shirts, and the guy who actually designed a bunch of these, we reached out to make sure it was okay to display them in the movie, and gave us permission.
So if I have to use something, I can use my cell phone, and that's fine. The important
We were a little worried it was a little too on the nose sometimes, but I don't know. I think it works. And it shows a little bit more about Richard Deacon's personality. The name East to West Vlog is inspired by Coast to Coast, of course. This scene was inspired by videos by Casey Neistat, and he's filmed stuff where he's interacting with his wife. And this was shot at the Pelican Grill, which is owned by a friend of ours named Zach. And we wanted to show something that was outside the apartment and the house because we were shooting so many scenes indoors. So this was a way for us to get outside a little bit. And some YouTubers like to show a little bit more of their private life. So this is what we're trying to do with this scene. And I know for some people, they question why Richard Deacon would be recording himself having an argument with his fiance, but for me, it made sense when I was writing the script.
All right, even if it's not, think of all the unknown doors that this could open. Why are you being so obtuse about this?
I'm not being obtuse. It's just you're acting like.
Originally had a second camera, which was placed in the back seat to film him from behind, but it didn't make sense when, from this angle, we're seeing that there's nothing in the back seat. So we had to redo this and take that camera out.
Right. We can have whatever type of wedding you want to. We can invite any of your friends that you want to. We can go to any destination you want to. You just have to understand that right now,
we're trying to show a little bit of how obsessed Richard Deacon is with his channel and his goals. How he's more focused on that than their upcoming wedding.
Project is more important than our wedding. I feel so alone in this. What about us? Where is the us in this? It's been nothing but you and this fucking project.
What do you mean by alone? What does that mean?
I think Richard Deacon was meant to be kind of like more of a narcissist or obsessive person. And we weren't deliberately trying to make him super unlikable, but I think he does come off as unlikable for some people. And others just see that he's just someone who's obsessed with trying to make sure that his channel grows and leads to somewhere. And then he kind of gets lost down this path of the occult and black magic.
How I'm feeling? This has been nothing about about us. This has only been about you. I'm tired of feeling alone.
Is that the way you always feel?
Lately, since you started this project, yes. And I've been
There's a line of dialogue here that Melanie kept
I don't matter
repeating,
anymore.
which was in the script.
It's like,
Wasn't her fault, and we had to cut out some of it
Is this the way you feel?
because it was so repetitive.
You know, maybe that's the way it should be.
Richard, what the fuck?
My friend Jay here did not want to say any dialogue while driving, so he could focus on driving. So we there's more dialogue, I think, in the scene, but we took it out and just had them driving silently, angry or upset over their recent fight. And I think that works better than them continuing to talk here. And I used to live in this area, so I'm kind of familiar with it, which is just a few blocks from where I used to live. We're trying to show that
I think it's been
his life was going down a different path with this breakup with Melanie, and
bad news.
this would allow him to try and
I think he left.
be more focused on his work,
We all saw that.
exploring the occult.
I think she really means it this time.
I think Jay was going through some stuff in his own private life when we were making this film, so a little bit of that may have rubbed off in this scene.
What this means. And how much I'm doing it for us, for her. I guess that gives me more time to spend with y'all, right? That's all I got. I'll see you next time.
This is J.D. Stanley, a good friend of mine who lives near Seattle.
Man, how you doing?
And we worked together at a strip club where I was a manager and he was a DJ.
Oh, what's going on?
And JD is also a big fan of horror films and is very supportive of this project. So I had written him in as a character in this script. But a lot of these things
She says that I'm too focused
that JD does, like his little neurotic tics and how he pops pills out of just either nervousness or anxiety. That's all JD, and I think it makes his character more interesting. So I'm glad he came up with some of that stuff. But I wanted Richard to have a friend, someone he could talk to, someone that was on his side and trying to help him through his journey in this film. I think I was inspired by the movie Sinister, a scene in the movie Sinister with Ethan Hawke where he's talking to a professor through a laptop because we did not have the money to try and bring JD down from where he was to film scenes. So it was one way to get him into the movie long distance wise without him actually physically being in Texas where we shot the film.
Sex magic. Have you tried that? Sex magic?
I think I've heard of that. Can you tell me?
And that's my laptop, which has our Easter egg of Cynical.
Like a love spell. It's a way of putting it
And Wayland Yutani sticker from one of my favorite movies, Alien.
not demons, but you still have to be careful. I had a woman become obsessed
But
with
the point of the scene was JD telling Richard that he needed to start with small stuff, not jump into heavy stuff like playing with the Goetia and demons, summoning of demons,
Melody falls for me.
which was not a good idea.
That sounds pretty coercive. That sounds manipulative.
Not any more than
When I first heard about the Goetia, it sounded really fascinating to me.
reigniting desires,
The idea of just summoning and
bringing them back to the
controlling
surface.
spirits and asking for favors
She'll
to
feel
gain knowledge or wealth
When you say it like that,
or
it
other
doesn't
types of
sound nearly
powers.
as bad.
And I thought it'd be interesting to try and explore this in a film.
magic. And if you insist on getting into magic, you really need to start from the beginning. Researching this stuff. And stuff like folk magic. You can't find in the Goetia as a YMCA white belt.
We had problems with the Skype call going in and out. I don't know if it was the internet connection or what, but it was definitely buggy. But we made it work. We just had to keep redoing things.
Zimmer, man, you know I wouldn't be this deep if I didn't know what I was doing.
I think JD has a Hellraiser poster behind him, which I think is funny and fits the movie.
I know. I just don't fuck with demons. And stuff is too heavy. Okay? You should do some love.
I know there was a review I read that someone said that JD was their favorite character and very endearing, which made me feel good.
All right, I'm listening, and I hear you, Zimmer. I'll start with the lesser magic, and I'll hold off on the heavy stuff.
Look, try not to worry about Melody.
A lot of those books behind Jay are books that I accumulated when I was researching the occult. I'd find a lot of them at half-price books in Texas.
All right, man.
And
I can't tell you how good it was to see you, and I really
some of those books were gifted to me. Some of those books were really expensive.
We get a chance to do this again soon, brother.
A lot of the Aleister Crowley stuff is very dense. And I don't recommend it for someone who's a beginner in exploring this stuff.
Hey, welcome back, y'all. We're going to be doing a shorter video today. There's a couple books that my buddy Alan Zimmer wanted me to talk about. One being on sex magic, and the other being on financial sorcery. But
Financial sorcery and sex magic. Two of the big reasons why I think people get into exploring
What
magic.
he says, and from what I've read, it's using sexual arousal, or even a sexual orgasm, while visualizing a desired outcome or result that you'd like to have happen. Whether that's the
I remember when I was first looking into this stuff, I did find some rituals on YouTube videos that I tried out.
We'll see. As for financial sorcery, there's a
One of them
ritual
was working with sigils and
cash journal, where you can hope to get the
the
wealth
magical
you
cash
desire.
book, of course.
So,
I don't know if it's a placebo or if there's more to it, but there are times it seemed like it was working.
Come this way, and we'll see what manifests. We'll see y'all next time.
This scene is an example of sigil magic.
I'm going to write out a statement of desire on a piece of paper. I will then take the first letter of every word on that piece of paper and draw a sigil.
And this was shot in my bedroom at our old apartment. So again, we're just trying to use the resources that we
When I
had.
climax, I will focus on the sigil. And when I'm done, I will take the parchment paper with the sigil on it and I'll burn it. Anyway, I'm getting started.
And those Goetia mirrors that are featured in the movie, we actually went through the process to follow instructions on making them and consecrating them. This is lawyer B. Douglas, who ran an occult shop called the Wild Collection in Houston, and which was a great store, which was burned down by an arsonist who I believe went to prison, which was unfortunate. I love that store, and I really love a lawyer. He's really charming
So thank you very much for
and a very interesting and intelligent person who's always been supportive of
excited, and I know my viewers
the stuff that I've been involved in, such as Cynical Magazine and parties, and then making this movie.
and the macabre.
And he had a lot of input on the script and his character. And I think he did really well. People loved
And the macabre.
the setting, which was his house, his old house. He has a new, I think he calls it Raven Mansion, but he changed locations. But he just has all these interesting items and pieces of taxidermy and sculptures and photos that he's collected over time.
It takes a special person to see through the darkness and find the same comfort and safety there and allow its secrets to envelop you.
That's quite profound.
I believe Lawyer was really nervous when he shot this scene, but he did really good.
I've done some extensive traveling, and I've been fortunate enough to
And I just love the lighting of the room.
collectors. This has helped me build a home that feels like an escape.
Oh, and one thing about this scene is that it was next to like a main freeway, so there was a lot of background noise coming from the outside, which made things difficult in post when we were trying to clean up the audio.
Black magic.
Because you can just hear these rushing cars. And this angle is from the GoPro camera, which definitely is more grainy than the main camera angle. But again, it's a movie about an upcoming YouTuber. I think it's okay that they don't match so much.
And this is where
So you're saying you've seen demons and
Hopefully the story captures your attention more than all the technical stuff.
Since I was a child, and I've been to work with demonic entities in my 20s.
But why demons?
Demons have been unjustly maligned by mainstream culture and religion.
There are so many interesting things that
Consciousness.
were around to film for B-roll at his place.
Demon or daemon is similar to the Latin word genius. Actually, it refers to external inspiration. These spirits can convey great information and knowledge to the magician who works with them.
One of the purposes of the scene was for someone to get Richard Deacon moving into doing rituals.
He has worked with all 72 spirits. The Goetia is basically
And we had to show something spooky eventually, where I was worried we were going to lose the interest of the audience with too many scenes of Richard talking to the camera.
Watch the video in this flash drive. It shows a real demon being summoned by a practitioner. The video involves the viewer because the practitioner asks the spirit to affect the person watching the video.
But yeah, I really love Lawyer's style.
To watch the video.
Like what? Good.
For a lot of these scenes, I try to use
You'll see.
2 main lights, a key light and a fill light, and then I would have 2 back lights that were colored lights along with the practicals that we had. This scene we're just using window light, of course. One of the things about making a found footage film that it's okay not to have too much elaborate lighting because you want it to be realistic.
Hey team, this right here is how you do wealth magic. They call it a magical cash.
So with that last scene, we were trying to show that his sigil magic ritual had worked and he had gotten Melanie back into his life.
While writing that amount on a specific page, but you really got to focus on it.
And then this is a magical cash book, which is actually my copy that I made.
And we'll see what happens. I'll keep y'all posted. Good morning, honey. I made you breakfast.
They talk about breakfast here, but there's no breakfast that was cooked.
Yeah, at the moment, actually, I am about the magical cash book.
And we wanted to show that she was interrupting the filming of one of his segments to kind of break the reality a little bit.
And you say these very specific words, poof.
And that they were not completely back together.
Knew you were going to ask that. It has to be more reasonable than that. You can't wish for a winning.
Oh, and one of the things about
We'll get to this
magic
later.
rituals that involve financial sorcery is people always ask, why don't you just ask for $1 million
I'll see you later.
or to win the lottery? And
Before I go, I just want to say that
the people who are experts in financial magic always say that's not how it works.
I'm going to take some time to make sure we think about
It has to be a more
I think you
of a realistic goal.
better than anybody. That I completely understand.
And if you do it and you forget about it, the magic or the money will just come to you out of nowhere
We are.
when you're not thinking about it.
I'm about to watch the video that Soren Parlow gave me.
Horace, I conjure you to appear
This is our first creepy scene.
in this black mirror.
And again, I was worried we're getting to this too late in the movie.
By your name, Horace.
But I really like the lighting, and
Conjure you
I think this is one of my favorite
show
scenes in the
yourself
movie
to me
that I think works.
and the viewer.
It always kind of, I think it creeps out viewers to watch someone watching something that's spooky. And Jay really helped with coming up with the concept for this scene. We workshopped this one a bit. This was shot at his old apartment down in Clear Lake before he moved out of state.
Is anybody there?
We had to film that a bunch of times to make it work where you just see the person moving out of the frame. You barely see them go around the corner. And of course, this is two cuts when he swishes the GoPro at the stairs and it turns to red lighting.
Hey team.
The scene was shot at an occult shop in Houston called Thorn and Moon. Jessica is the owner of this shop, and she was very courteous and gracious in letting us shoot here. This is my wife, Brittany, who plays Janie Black.
This is such a beautiful store. Let me take a quick look if that's okay.
And she actually introduced me to tarot cards and tarot readings by giving me a reading before we got together, which led me down the rabbit hole of exploring the occult and Aleister Crowley and magic, whether she meant to or not.
So are you ready?
Brittany did really good here. She got the scene in a few takes. We didn't have to shoot it too many times.
What I like to do is just start with a little exercise.
And I remember reading some comments that this is one of the more realistic tarot readings people have seen in a film.
So what we're going to
Because
do is just take 3 deep
in a lot of films, the tarot readings are pretty bad and make no sense and aren't realistic. But this is all Brittany. And I think we got lucky when we were filming this. I think we filmed part of it when the shop wasn't open and part of it when it was open and no customers had
pick up the deck
tried to come in while we were filming.
to put some energy.
Otherwise, we would have stopped so they could conduct their business.
If you have any questions, any concerns that you kind of want clarity on,
I don't know a whole lot about tarot cards, but I know that
take your
one of the main misconceptions is the death card is meant to be bad, but in reality, it just means like it's a new beginning and something in your life is dying. Of course, that card always comes up, tarot readings and the devil card. So
feels good.
I think Brittany was trying to do something a little bit different with the layout
The first 3 cards.
for Richard Deacon's character.
1, 2, and 3.
1, 2.
Perfect. Right, let's see what the cards I can show. Okay. So your first card is the Tower. I know it looks pretty daunting and scary.
I highly recommend
So you've got
for people interested in the occult
usually represents a foundation
to check and oddities to check out the Thorn and Moon shop. It's a really great store, and they've expanded it to,
that you're working on.
I believe, 2 buildings now, so it's pretty big. But when we shot, it was mainly just this area and that area in the back that we saw at the beginning.
Maybe didn't have as much focus on it, and so that's causing
I met a good friend
crack.
through Thorn and Moon named Shafe Shockley, who had seen a post that Thorn and Moon had made about this movie, and he watched the movie and liked it, and he reached out to me, and we've since become good friends and worked on several other projects such as Bayou City Burlesque, and he's an actor in my second movie, One Last Trip. And so I'm thankful for Thorn and Moon for that.
Okay, the devil's not coming for you. That's actually a misconception. This card actually signifies a lot of lust, want for power. But what I like to look for in this card is you see the individuals, they're not necessarily like chained to anything. It's actually, they're not locked in. They're standing there on their own free will. They have chosen to stay in the spot that they're in.
I've heard some people say that
you're just stuck.
there's different ways to read tarot cards. Some people, an old friend of mine, liked to say he just liked to ponder the cards, think about them, not read too much into the spirituality behind the cards. And I think this is the Rider-Waite deck, which is I think the most popular tarot deck. And I personally like Aleister Crowley's Thoth deck, which is something that I worked with in the past. But I would always have to look up the meanings of the cards online or in a book right after I pulled them because I had no idea what they meant.
That's generally what we get from that. There's a lot
I would used to bug Brittany for the explanations of the card meanings, and I think I would drive her a little crazy.
Possible that we could maybe talk more about this right now.
Tell you what.
But I think it's a good way to open your mind or consciousness into other paths or realities for your upcoming future.
That would be good. I think that would be important for me.
Excellent. I think a full reading would do a lot better.
I appreciate your help today, Jane.
Thanks for coming in.
Oh, there's a devil card.
Hey, welcome back to the program. As you'll see,
This scene was shot at Jay's old apartment, and the Baphomet statue was given to me by my friend Shannon, who owns the Vault Dungeon in Houston. And it was actually from the Wild Collection store.
That the Knights Templar were accused of worshipping. The Knights Templar were then arrested and executed on Friday the 13th, October.
I always thought the history of the Baphomet symbol was really interesting. You can go down a rabbit hole of researching that, which is something he touches on a little bit in this scene.
Goat image that was drawn by the occultist Eliphas Levi in the 1800s. On the arms here, you'll see the Latin words solve, coagula, dissolve, coagulate, as above, so below. The image of the Baphomet has also been used in the Devil card that you'll find in the Rider-Waite tarot card deck, and is also the official symbol of the Church of Satan. Does this look familiar? So later today, I'm going to be meeting with a practitioner of the left-hand path. His name is Trevor Main. He has a podcast where he talks about
some of these prints behind Richard are prints that Brittany had found and printed.
On the left-hand path. So the left-hand path
And,
is equated with
I thought it would help the scene to have them behind Richard.
breaking of taboo and set morality.
And this was his
Left-hand path practitioners
altar that he had
embrace
made.
the dark and the light in order to achieve solve et coagula. I'm hoping that we can learn more about this today and about the
It took us a while to find that little brass vessel you see in the back there. which is what you hold the spirits that you conjure in. This was the first scene that we shot for the movie.
Hi, I'm Richard Deacon.
And this is Joel, who's a member of the band Asmodeus X. Really good guy. This is a hard shot to get, and this is the most Kubrick-like shot in the movie, which I'm a big fan of his, where you have your one-point perspective and kind of a tracking shot. But we were able to shoot at this location because of Joel, so I'm very grateful that he let us shoot here, and we wanted to put him in the movie as a way of thanking him.
Hello.
This is my friend Paul Frederick,
Such a pleasure to meet you.
who's written several books on the occult and runs a podcast called Daemonosophy.
Welcome to another
He's
episode of East to West.
an expert in a lot of this stuff.
Occultist podcast.
So one of the
Author.
mistakes I made when I was making this film is
That sounds right. Thanks for having me.
the audio aspect of this scene. When we were filming it, the AC kept kicking on and off,
Extremely excited as we continue
and some of the takes we filmed, the AC was on, and some of them, the AC was off. So when we were trying to cut it together and make it all match, we'd try to take some of that AC noise and drop it in behind the shots that didn't have the AC noise, and it just caused a lot of problems and distortion in the audio,
acquaintances,
which I've since pay a lot more attention to. I think that day we didn't have any way around it,
The Goetia. That sounds pretty.
but I definitely try to shut off the air conditioning of a location right away if we're going to film, and then keep it on, which will make the actors hot,
I
but
believe so.
the film will sound a lot better.
The right word. I've been doing so much research and looking at all of the data, and I've discovered I could look at this my entire life.
People, this shirt, do what thou wilt. I think people
Why?
have a misunderstanding what that phrase means. It doesn't mean do whatever you want. It means do what your true will or true calling is, to follow that. Paul had this great jacket on this day, this shiny gray jacket, which I love.
The more you look at it, you start to see there's more going on than either science or religion could ever explain.
So what does the Goetia explain?
Some people might think Paul's a little over the top here, but I think it works. It makes him more interesting. I'd rather him be more interesting or go for an interesting performance and
Is most people, if they did see the truth,
create something memorable than something a little too subdued, which is not what we wanted for the character of Trevor Main.
Are these external and separate entities real? Are they all in our heads?
what do you think, Deacon? You got demons in your head?
I feel like we all.
I was really happy this day when we were filming the scene because we were finally getting the movie going
With the sigil of Asmodeus on it.
after preparing it for so long.
Oh, my old friend Asmodeus. Well, I can tell you he's a three-headed demon. His first head is a bull.
As I mentioned before, we raised about $4,000 through Kickstarter for this project, and we spent that on the gear we needed to shoot it. So this project didn't have a big budget.
And you learn there's three great keys of hell. Asmodeus is the first key, and that's the key of the mind. Astaroth is the second key. That's the key of the heart.
Paul had a lot of input on the scene and his character, which I appreciated.
The third great key is unlocked, and that's Belial, the true black magic.
We've talked about doing a documentary on the occult or some spiritual stuff he's been exploring related to Kundalini, but we haven't gotten around to it yet. But I think it'd be interesting to explore that with him.
I have. Well, you know where to go next. Oh, and Deacon, remember, you may be looking to reveal the Goetia, but sometimes the Goetia.
I love what he does here with the card and the little hand gesture he makes as he lets it go.
Thank you for the interview today, Trevor.
That's gonna do it for our episode of East to West, and I'll see you all next time.
This, I love the lighting here, how all the gold looks. And when I was making the trailer, we focused on this image of the mirror and the incense smoke kind of just rising up. And I was inspired by Stanley Kubrick's The Shining trailer, which was just a single static shot that showed the blood coming out of the elevator doors, which is kind of what I went for with this trailer. And for the trailer. And I liked how these candles just started flickering on their own at one point when we were filming this shot. Jay's a big Stephen King fan, and he had a lot of cool Stephen King artwork in his apartment. I think that's something from the Dark Tower there on the wall.
Several different occultists recently.
And we were trying to figure out what should be on his computer screens while he talks to his friend. So we settled on sigils and just an image of a candle.
Wow. Yeah. Trevor Maine, he's highly respected. Did you learn anything?
I think we shot this during the day. That's why it's brighter than some of the other scenes at his desk.
Including Asmodeus.
So we couldn't make it as dark as I normally would like it to be.
That's a heavy hitter.
But I think it's okay.
Done any rituals yet, right?
You think so little of me and my capabilities with this. I did a scrying that I read about in a book.
But with this scene, we were trying to show that his character was starting to change a little bit mentally.
What is it with you and these heavyweights?
The more he worked with these rituals.
Yeah.
Did you see anything?
I did not.
Did you feel a difference? Change in the temperature?
And his friend was becoming concerned about it.
Best, I felt anxious. I was half expecting something to jump out of the mirror at me. And to be honest, I was hoping that it would.
If you consider yourself lucky, you're swimming with fucking sharks. You don't understand about baby steps. You're opening yourself up, and you are willfully
That red device on the desk is a
exposing yourself. You're
Zoom H1 recorder. I believe that's what we use to record the sound. And since then, I've gotten better equipment. But I still like that little Zoom H1.
you have to be hyper vigilant now. You may
I recommend that device for anyone who's just getting started with trying to make short films or
To notice
micro-budget
things, to learn
projects.
about these things, to see what's going on behind the curtain.
you
And holding up that GoPro is or a DJI action camera you see there is a Gorilla Pod, which I think most people have seen from like Casey Neistat videos when he does his vlogging.
did you at least try sex magic?
That's something we can agree on. I did. Melanie came over and we slept together. I still think she wants to break up, but she said she needs her space. And to be honest, I think I do too.
Well, how soon after your ritual?
Surprisingly, a day. And I did those was rituals you told me about as well.
Anything?
Nothing noticeable. An uptick in ad revenue for my channel. That's really nothing different than I'd see on a day-to-day or an hour-to-hour basis.
That's so good. You know, it starts.
Some of my favorite found footage movies would be
Sure.
Blair Witch Project, Paranormal Activity,
Again, the.
No Ride the Curse, which is a Japanese found footage film.
I mean, this isn't a fucking Ouija board from the toy shop, Davey.
And what I like about found footage is that it sometimes can give you a more personal experience,
Forget about demons.
especially with point of view shots. Because sometimes a horror film will be too polished, something that comes out of Hollywood, and it can create some distance for the viewer and the film, in my opinion. It's hard to get wrapped up and scared by something that's just super produced or overproduced, in my opinion.
I'll be careful.
Good. Good.
This is another ritual scene. I believe this is the first time that Richard's trying to do an actual Goetia ritual. This is the house that Brittany and I live in, which she was able to close on during the middle of production. And
Parlo put me in touch with him, and this is the next step, I think.
this is Cyrus, who was a friend of Brittany's and who had known about magic and explored magic. And he had a lot of input on his character, David Resnick.
So you've come to me wanting to learn about magic. What kind of magic do you want to learn?
Especially with the attitude of
There's all kinds of magic. There's Solomonic magic.
he didn't want to
magic, there's chaos magic.
spend a lot of time working with a beginner. He wanted to move things along quickly.
The first one, Solomonic magic.
So you want to be working with demons.
I think so.
Okay. So have you been working on your meditation and
Almost
physical activities?
in a snide fashion is the way he presents magic, a little bit, a little cynical.
Have you learned the LBRP, Lesser Banishing Ritual, the pentagram? Have you done that?
Yes, I know that. But tell me, have you worked with the Goetia?
Yeah, for a while.
Someone made the comment that they thought the house was a little too empty for this character.
Exactly. That you
But we never really get to know too much about David, but the behind the scenes aspect was this. We were working with the resources that we had.
I guess there
Some of those walls on the back were still being painted, so that's why you see
is
blue tape.
to find out why.
Okay. Look, if we're gonna start from here, you're gonna have to pay me. I'm not starting from.
I don't even think a lot of furniture had been moved into this house yet, which I think can work for this character. He's more of a minimalist.
I'm gonna need you to get this list of items.
I like how David
It's materials that we're gonna need.
or Cyrus just pulled that little note out of his sweater there, out of nowhere. That was his idea.
Yeah, I can get this.
Okay. Now, what exactly do you want to bring forth?
I don't know at this point.
Okay. So you're gonna need to go through the Goetia, which is a catalog of demon sorts. It's gonna be able to tell you what the demons are going to want from you, put it on that list, as well as what
Cyrus talked a lot about chaos magic,
eventually.
which is sort of like the Jeet Kune Do of magical philosophies, I guess you could say, which is a little bit of mixture of everything, and you kind of keep what works for you, as far as how it was explained to me, which is something that I thought was very interesting.
In one night? Yeah.
Because a lot of the ceremonial magic systems can be a little dense and hard to practice.
What if I told you that it is?
I really like how this scene turned out. I like the lighting and the mood, and this is we're trying to go for a paranormal activity vibe with this scene.
Cultivate a sound body and mind. So I've begun meditating in this.
I wanted to create the feeling in the viewer that they needed to pay attention to the background and the room, because things might be moving in the background, and they needed to pay attention to that. And I felt like just the subtlety of like a door moving a little bit would cause unease in the viewer.
Hey team, welcome to another episode of East Meets West. David Resnick recently suggested that
Jay had these tall windows at his apartment, and I think it was a 2-story place, and I think it was really difficult to close those windows. That's why they were open behind
send
him.
it off to be consecrated by magicians that I know, and in some cases make them on my own. So let's get started. So right here we have the hexagram.
With this scene, we're just trying to explain all the little tools that are needed on
in order to compel them to take human form
for Goetia
and become obedient
type
to you.
magic, which is
And the next item here is the triangle of art, and as you can see, it's already been consecrated.
I don't know what happened to this
Magical triangle surrounded
triangle of
by
art thing that we
names.
made. It just kind of disappeared
Michael. What you'll do is you'll place the
one
black
day.
string here in the middle when working with evil spirits.
After the movie, we
or
couldn't find
attract them by
it.
their divine names. This next
And
item is
we were trying to show all these items, and it was kind of hard because we were limited in space, but this
and it's also surrounded by divine
sheet was the magic circle that you're supposed to be
Picture a
standing
circle
in.
when you're conducting a ritual. However,
And the circle has a bunch of sacred names
circle when doing a ritual.
that help keeps the spirits out
I had to have
of the
custom
circle.
made and consecrated by a jeweler in Greece. First, I'm gonna have
Some
to
of these
grab
pieces of jewelry I had,
this is the
I think that
pentagram
ring,
of Solomon, which is
the Ring of Solomon, I had made from a jewelry maker in Greece,
but also help
which is a pretty cool ring.
in this last item, which is truly the most
I
important.
believe he
of them all,
consecrates the stuff that he makes as well, which is interesting.
which is also worn to protect you from evil spirits and also to help you command them. But perhaps most uniquely and most importantly,
But they say there's certain things you should have on your altar, which is like a chalice, altar bowl, a ring,
from the sulfurous
a bell,
fumes and the flaming brass.
a dagger, and a
Well, that's all I got today, guys. What? No. One more. I didn't see this back here.
I can't think of the last
This right here is a
piece.
brass vessel. When working with spirits, you'll place a demon's symbol or sigil on a piece of handwritten paper, and you'll take that paper and put it in the middle of the triangle, and then you'll place it back.
Brass
in the
vessel.
The vessel is surrounded by the secret seal.
And incense is really important. You're supposed to match the incense with the spirit that you're trying to summon.
There's stories of people mistakenly opening the vessel.
You don't want to use the wrong incense, apparently, or the spirit you're trying to summon will not come,
Well, that's all I got this time, guys.
or will be annoyed.
I do invocate and conjure thee, O Asmodeus. Also I, being made after the image of God, endued with
I like the red lighting of the scene and the point of view of the GoPro camera, which I think makes it interesting.
that most mighty and powerful name of glory.
I had read about an experience that a magician had where he got oil in his
Asmodeus.
eyes, which caused him to break the circle, which is when bad things can start to happen for someone practicing magic, because you're not supposed to break the circle when you're in the middle of a ritual.
But it's cold in here, right? It's fucking cold in here. Oh, my face is starting to turn black.
Ravage Aloran, Asmodeus Aken.
We got a lot of compliments on how accurate a lot of the magic and the rituals we presented were in this film. That's mainly because some of the stuff we actually tried after doing a lot of research, and some spooky things happened when we would try some of these rituals.
And I not to depart with my license until thou hast duly faithfully performed.
When you stare into that mirror, you're supposed to see things.
By the pentacle of Solomon.
And some people claim that they'll actually see the demonic entity outside the circle in front of them.
I welcome you, O Spirit.
Whatever you ask for and whatever you promise to give to the Spirit, you're supposed to make sure that you come through on your end of the bargain.
You to ever be with us in spirit.
I can't do this. I can't see out of my fucking eyes.
What are you doing?
And King Solomon commanded spirits to actually rebuild a temple. This is another scene where the viewer needs to pay attention to what's in the background.
I just had to
as they focus on the foreground,
tell you guys what I've been experiencing.
Stuff is happening behind
I
them.
feel like shit. Like I haven't felt worse.
And I think Jay came up with this idea of what happens here in this scene.
Where it came from. But I had this dream last night that I have to tell you about. I'm out in the middle of the night and I'm supposed to meet this man. I don't know who he is, but I see him and he's dressed in all black. And
This scene was shot in Jay's apartment in his bedroom. And we put a blue light in the bathroom there in the center of the frame.
I woke up and we're standing across from each other. And he looks to the left and he points. And I look at where he's pointing. It's this tunnel and it's black. Infinitely.
This was a lot of dialogue for Jay to remember and get out. So he did a pretty good job.
Like a black hole. Because it starts pulling me towards it. And I feel like...
Yeah, this is a pretty long scene.
And I'm fighting and I can't escape it. I get close and I wake up and here I am feeling like this. And I have to meet Melanie tonight. And I don't feel like it, but I know that I have to. So fuck.
And that shadow in the background, person in the cloak, that's actually me. So this is my Alfred Hitchcock moment for the movie, which we practiced a few times. I think we had to do this take or scene at least 5 times.
So that every spirit of the firmament and of the ether, upon earth and under earth, on dry land and in the water, of whirling air and rushing fire, and every spell and scourge of God may be obedient.
We had just moved into this house, Brittany and I remember Cyrus was speaking so loudly. And at one point when we were filming another scene where he was yelling, I was worried our neighbors were going to think we were Satanists or something and come knocking on our door.
Strong O thou Bune, and I command thee.
There's a little blue flicker of light there. I don't know if you missed it.
And his fiat was accomplished.
We're trying to show that Richard was definitely going down the spiral in his journey of the Goetia and the occult and black magic. And his friend is no longer able to like reach him anymore.
It appears, three heads, a bull.
The Shining with Jack Nicholson is definitely, I think, a character that we were trying to model, just that descent of changing the temperament of the character.
Try? He was one of the first demons that I worked with.
How many have you worked with?
Throughout the course of the movie.
Many. And I'm working with Resnick to summon all 72 in one night. We've been working towards this goal together for a very long time.
And I also think we were changing the light that we associated with Richard. As the movie progresses, the light changes, so it's becoming almost pinkish red right here, and eventually it's just red.
Insane, Zimmer.
And I think earlier in the movie it's lighter.
Good I am at this.
That's something we were trying to do with the lighting.
A main spirit that you work with, but Asmodeus, he wouldn't be my first choice. Have you been seeing things?
It wouldn't be your first choice because you're not the one doing it, Zimmer, okay? This is my journey, and I'm the one.
Remember, JD said that the way that Jay looked from his screen on his end, which you could kind of see there in that little tiny screen, was really creepy. The way that Jay was lit up all red, but we really can't see it from his angle.
I've been having these ungodly, indescribable dreams.
You can kind of see it there.
Spirits.
But it helped him get into the mood of the scene.
They can also appear physically,
Because again, he was in another state when we were filming this.
some magicians that were scared straight, or scared into Christianity at least.
Scared straight. I appreciate the concern, but I think I know what I'm doing here.
Have you tried invoking yet?
Taking a spirit into
Possession of Michael King and Death of a Blogger are two other found footage movies that inspired me when making this.
Okay, I'm just trying to look
If you haven't seen those, you should definitely check them out.
appreciate the concern, but I suggest that you start looking out for yourself.
Okay.
Hello?
Do you want to keep going?
What do you mean?
With this scene, we're trying to show
Yeah.
that things were starting to become more in motion with Resnick's plan for Deacon, where he was trying to rush him to go meet somebody.
I'm in. When are we doing this?
Tomorrow night.
Does it have to be tomorrow night?
Yeah, what's the problem?
I have plans with my fiance Melanie.
Well, then break them. I mean, how serious are you about your research and your channel?
I get your point.
I'll text you her address and let her know that you'll be coming over tomorrow.
Okay.
One more thing.
What's that?
Dress nice.
We shot this at a hotel where we kind of just
expecting this one to be pretty interesting.
We used guerrilla filmmaking, just went and shot there without asking for permission. So we had to do it when no one was in the hallway. So Jay had to keep waiting for people to go in and out of the elevator.
Lyra?
This is
Richard Deacon. We talked on the phone earlier.
someone I knew from Austin, Bane Jane.
I love the red light.
She's one of the several people who actually sent us an audition tape or video who wanted to be a part of the movie. And we really liked her audition tape when we watched it.
So I'll begin by asking, why practice the Goetia in the first place?
The same reason everyone does. Power, wealth, knowledge, sex.
You use the Goetia for sex?
I can have anything.
I once met a woman in a hotel for a session. She was a dominatrix, and I remember the room was completely red like this, and it always struck out to me,
I'm not following.
or stuck out to me. So this is something I was trying to go for with this scene, and so we changed all the bulbs to red. And I think it gives it a little bit of David Lynch
I
vibe.
also do necromancy. I like to call it enlightening my inner self.
And you support yourself this way?
I have a website. People pay me to do.
And the scene comes off as a little bit sinister.
Financial sorcery, tarot divination.
Let's go back to that term, necromancy. I've heard it before, but can you help me understand what that is?
It is when I speak to the dead.
She's forcing him to drink.
So you do graveyard magic. Why would you summon the dead?
A little bit, or pushing him to drink.
The dead helps me really connect with my magic when I get to use
One of the
it.
spirits, Asmodeus,
Being caught by the police?
I think he's the demon of lust. So he uses people as vessels to commit adultery and things like that, which is one of the underlining themes of this particular scene, is to get Richard Deacon to cheat on his
To
fiancée.
find out why I'm doing it in the first place. I have a YouTube channel and I do conspiracy videos. I started doing these rituals because I see a connection between the two.
I think Jay is wearing shining socks in this scene. The graded girls.
The powerful and the leader doing these rituals behind closed doors to further their.
There was a burlesque performer
There's so many
that I had wanted to play this part,
the same things you said.
but I think she was either too busy, or once she read the scene, maybe she had cold feet. But
Let me turn this off.
Bane Jane was totally up for it, so it worked out. We had to bring Melanie back to show some conflict here between their characters, because I think she hadn't been in the movie for a minute.
Let's go in this plan.
Alright. So when do you think you'll be finished?
We're close. Resnick says we're gonna summon 72 demons on Devil's Night.
Oh, what is Devil's Night?
The night before Halloween.
And again, with found footage films, I think it's okay that
Getting pretty close.
it looks a little more raw than a normal, typical film.
I'm trying to summon demons. This is really starting to bother me a lot. It's really starting to freak me out.
Can we have like
I know that's one of the things that people really like about films like Paranormal Activity.
It's starting to make me nervous.
Just how stripped down it seems. It seems like it's just being recorded with
And all the videos,
home video cameras.
they'd probably freak out to the point where they'd want us to break up.
your parents are closed-minded?
A lot of coffee is featured in this film, because we're all coffee drinkers.
Okay, they're still my parents. So can
I remember Jay bought us a big box of K-Cups because he was drinking so much of the coffee. I think he felt a little bad.
A blood oath ceremony? We were just talking about the wedding the other day, and you asked for a hand casting ceremony. And now you're talking about a blood oath ceremony?
You gotta be open to some of my suggestions.
I was open to the hand fasting ceremony, not a fucking blood oath. That is scary. That scares me. And that would freak out my parents. This feels like it's going way, way too far.
Maybe it's not gone far.
Another point of view ritual scene. I was trying to figure out a way to show something happening without showing something happening, or trying to make it subtle, because
O Spirit Asmodeus.
this is a no-budget horror film, but you also don't want something cheesy to happen to pull someone out of the movie. So I think just something as simple as a picture or the mirror falling can be creepy. And I had read about a magician who got bit when he put his hand outside the circle. He got bit by the demonic spirit, apparently.
I had to show you all
And
what happened.
this is what we show in this bathroom
I
scene.
was in Resnick's ritual chamber. He told
This
me
bathroom had really
to practice
old,
this single
creepy
ritual,
wallpaper on it. I think the house was
so I did.
built in 1978.
And
And
the scrying mirror fell
yeah, it was very interesting.
towards me, and I reached out. And it was so fucking stupid. I know, guys, but it was automatic. And I reached for it, and my arm went outside the circle, and I feel this fucking pressure and this pain in my arm, and it burned. So I pull my arm.
I asked an old friend
cut it off, and I stop.
for tips on how to show a bite
And I came home.
effect for a film, and she recommended I just get one of the latex ones that you can
Standing here,
basically paste onto your skin or stamp onto your skin
looking in the mirror,
and apply it with some water, which I think worked for us. I didn't want to show it too much,
I started turning black.
just give the viewer a glimpse of it,
Part of me starts turning black.
because special effects and makeup is not
I just don't get
something we're experts at.
it. I just show you this white
Yeah, you barely see that little chunk of his arm being bit there.
I'm starting to get freaked out. I'm starting to get really scared.
But yeah, I had read about a magician who got bit, and then that's what we were trying to go for in this scene.
But maybe that's what needs to happen. You know?
It's another way of showing something
Maybe it's a good thing.
without showing anything hokey happening in front of our eyes, just hinting at these entities.
So what's next is the major ritual with Resnick on Devil's Night. And I can't wait to show you all that.
August 1st, that's Brittany's birthday. This is Jay channeling Jack Nicholson from The Shining, I think.
I keep
And
seeing these things out of the corner of my eye.
I don't mind
Blue lights.
going with the more interesting, over-the-top takes.
And I'm just so fucking tired. And Alira keeps contacting me. What the fuck am I supposed to say to her?
But some viewers
What is
might take it a different way than
How do I
I
go
do.
forward with this?
Richard.
I think Cyrus changed some of the dialogue in this scene,
Blood pact.
such as "You are no longer a vlogger, you are a magician now" line,
Chocolate and incense. It's time we offer something a little bit more substantial now.
which I think is a little funny.
Are you sure I have to do this?
Absolutely.
I really liked what Cyrus did with the character
Pick the dagger up. Slice your palm.
of David
Put
Resnick.
blood into the sigil and into the chalice.
Jay squeezing out some blood.
Excellent. You're one step closer to becoming a magician.
I don't remember how we did that.
Blood sacrifices?
Absolutely.
Is that a joke? I can't go this far. I have limits.
A magician doesn't
I think part of the purpose of this scene was Richard realizing that maybe he's getting too deep into all of this and he needs to pull back.
I wanted to summon spirits to get further with my goals.
Your goals have
The part of Richard Deacon that's still there subconsciously or consciously.
I've been seeing things, Resnick.
Excellent. Then everything we've been doing hasn't been in vain.
I'm a vlogger.
Some people that mess around with this stuff do worry that they're going to be damned to hell for working with demons.
You're more than a vlogger now. You're a magician.
But there's a difference between Solomonic magic and Faustian magic. Faustian magic where you make pacts with demons and the devil, which is something I read about in a book by P.T. Misselberger called The Dancing Sorcerer. And I thought that would be a good underlying theme for this whole film, which is the two paths that you could take. David Resnick is obviously more of a Faustian magician, and Richard is trying to be more of a Solomonic magician, but he gets corrupted and pulled into the wrong path.
I like what I'm saying, but it's the truth. You're right where I need you to be. Just meditate on it.
Received a notice that my channel got suspended today. I assume it was a report for inappropriate content or some bullshit like that.
Stephen King rules.
That's all my money. That's how I get all my money, the ad revenue. What? I got some saved up. I can pay my bills. I know some vloggers who've had to deal with.
So this altar area is meant to be part of Richard Deacon's apartment, but it was shot at a different location.
We'll get through this. But I'm also going to be looking for another platform, another place to host this. So if y'all have tips,
I don't think anyone really questions the layout of Richard Deacon and where he lives, but yeah, we had to work with what we had available to shoot his scenes. And at one point, Brittany and I had moved out of that apartment, so we could no longer film there. So we had to figure out new spots and try and make it look like it was just a different part, a different area of his apartment.
Resnick and I, we've been having trouble seeing eye to eye lately. The path forward with the Goetia rituals, we view differently. I think I'm a gray magician, which means I use magic and summon spirits to improve my life, to improve my situation. I'm not making pacts with demons and then paying the price that they ask for it. I'm not making
I think
deals with the devil.
we're trying to show things are spiraling for Richard with the suspension of his channel, which was really important to him.
Is making those pacts with those spirits and those demons.
So we have to find a way to come together.
Because that was part of the whole point of him exploring all of this stuff, was to grow a big channel.
We have to know how this all ends. I appreciate you all as always, and I'll see you next time.
Hey, I just wanted to give you all a little update. I just took a shower, and you might be wondering why I'd be sharing that with you, but it's actually for a ritual cleansing.
I think this is a big fight scene between
I'll be doing a ritual
Richard
with
and
David
Melanie.
Resnick, and I wanted to give you all an idea of what to expect and what you could anticipate with.
I think Kira was more than happy to
What's up?
go off on someone. It was fun for her
It's part of the project.
What part of this?
to, I guess, let out some steam, frustration, but in a fun
You
way.
can't explain how a woman and you hooking up is part of the fucking project?
This had to happen.
This had to happen? Out of all the ways you've been disrespecting me, you're gonna stoop this low to say it had to happen? Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. And it's a stupid fucking project. Fuck you.
Fuck.
And then now we're getting towards the end of the movie.
Resnick, I wanted to apologize.
Oh, one of the things I remembered, we were making this film, but then other movies were coming out, such as I think Paranormal Activity, Next of Kin. They were using the same spirit that we were, Asmodeus, and I was worried people were going to think we were ripping off that movie, but ours just took a little bit longer to make and finish and get out. But no, we didn't get inspired by that film. We were actually kind of upset when we watched it and saw that they had chose the same spirit that we were using in our film. But I think that happens a lot. And I know that spirit's been used in other movies too, so it is what it is.
Listen to me, Richard. You need to get over here right now.
But I promise, we did not get the idea from that film. We got it from our own research. One of the things I wanted to do with this climax of the film, I was inspired by David Fincher's The Game, where throughout the whole movie you're meeting certain characters.
Absolutely.
And
you've been having hallucinations.
you can't tell what's real or what's going on. It's kind of a paranoid thriller. And then at the end of the movie, sorry, I'm spoiling this for anyone, you see all these characters come together at the end. And that's what I was trying to go for a little bit in this climax, but I was going to have a lot more people show up for this scene, but at the end I thought maybe we would just strip it down and have it just be David Resnick and a few other people, Soren Parlow and Trevor Main. And we would have 3 people
Your body, your spirit, your mind.
instead of a whole room full of people, which was going to be hard logistically for us to try and schedule to have everyone show up and be off at the same time and available to shoot that scene.
You trust me, right? I said that I did. Then I'm gonna have to ask you to please trust me in all of this. It seems a lot. This seems like a
This scene got really loud, so again, we were concerned our neighbors were going to knock on our door. Actually, I think a little kid did knock on our door during the filming of this scene, and he randomly knocked on the door, and he asked where the birthday party was. And if he only knew what was going on inside, on the other side of the door in our house, he may have been a little freaked out, but we told him we didn't know what he was talking about, and he went on his way. But I always thought that was funny. The layout of this scene was inspired by some of Anton LaVey's Friday midnight parties. I think I had looked at some pictures of how they set up their altar and would have sigils and paintings on the wall and a bunch of candles. And I think Jay got this scene in 1 or 2 takes. He did a really good job. Everyone here did pretty good. Cyrus did an amazing job with the chanting. And of course, we're trying to show that Richard has been taken over by Asmodeus, and they're worshiping Asmodeus and been trying to bring him back this whole time. We all try to workshop how we were going to show Asmodeus's powers when you don't have a budget. So we had to improvise, and we went with the Darth Vader choke move, which is actually seen in a lot of horror movies. So it's not a new technique, but I think it works, and the way Jay plays this scene works, at least for me. And then here we circle back to the beginning of the movie, which is a technique that I like in films.
Everyone's dead. Someone's planning.
And I don't know if you could see it, but there's some bruises on Cyrus's face. There's a shadow of Richard Deacon before he kills David Resnick.
When gathering information for the investigation.
Here we come back to Melanie's scene.
Before handing it over to the police, I decided to go ahead and copy so that way I can review the footage. A lot of it was stuff that he had already had on his channel, East to West.
So there's a camera behind her because I wanted to show another angle of the room to show that it was empty, which will come to play here in a second.
A lot of the people that were with Richard for this.
So there's no one in the room is basically what we're trying to show.
Are dead. I know with all of that, I know that he would want all these clips uploaded to his channel. If any of his viewers are religious, or if you just have issues with anything that involves.
And there's something I want to argue here because I had read about it in a comment or a critique of the film.
Richard, maybe.
So she picks up the camera to go explore. There was actually people in the house that we had to keep quiet for this scene, the filming of this scene. Now we see this freeze frame of Richard Deacon, and someone pointed out that they didn't like this freeze frame, but freeze frames in found footage movies I think are common, especially like in the movie Norai, The Curse. Whoever's presenting this footage after Melanie is the person that frees that frame. Someone was questioning the logistics or truthfulness of Melanie being able to freeze frame that moment. If Richard Deacon or Asmodeus is about to kill her, and of course, but whoever found the footage is the one that did that freeze frame. So that's my argument for that freeze frame, and I think it works, and I've seen it in other found footage movies. And what we're trying to do with that character by having him in a suit was to show that he had become powerful and wealthy. So all the things that Richard Deacon was asking of Asmodeus, he became. And to show him in the mirror ties in with the whole theme of working with the mirror to summon spirits. Paul and his band, Asmodeus X, they really had a great song for this end credits, Demons in My Head, that I felt really fit the movie well, and I'm glad that he allowed us to use it at the end of the movie, and some people have commented on how much they like it. So thank you, Paul. And I'm proud of this movie. It's pretty rough. It's got some things that I might have done differently or filmed differently, and I definitely would have tried to get the audio down better, but I'm still proud. The purpose of trying to make your first movie is do whatever you have to do to make it, because it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be, unless you're like Christopher Nolan or Darren Aronofsky and you just hit it out of the ballpark with your first project. It's probably going to be pretty rough, but you're not going to get better unless you make more movies, and you're not going to get to that point until you make your first one. So I'm proud that we made this. I'm grateful for the support that we had with the Kickstarter campaign, people who backed it, and the people who donated their time to act in this project, and for my wife for supporting it and letting us shoot in the apartment and house for so long. I think it took us a year to film this movie. And for Jay for helping me realize my Mount Everest goal, making a movie. Couldn't have made it without him and the other people that were in the project. I've made and I'm working on at least 4 full-length projects. I made a full-length documentary on burlesque performers and a couple other documentaries, and I'm working on my second film, One Last Trip, which is more of a cinematic movie instead of a found footage film. So I'm just going to keep making as many films as I can, and hopefully they'll continue to improve. Thank you for listening.